So that's the fourth plea in this case. So you had 19 people going to trial. Now it's 15. You watch. It's going to whittle down, whittle down, whittle down, whittle down, whittle down. And it's going to be only Trump left standing. And every one of them, as part of their plea agreements, they all have to provide truthful testimony.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own board-certified criminal defense lawyer. That's who I am. But guess what? I don't matter at all, because you know what matters? The guy behind the camera, the guy behind the ideas, our content genius, Michael Rivers, who's right there behind the camera and right at my side every step of the way. Today we're reacting to another one bites the dust. Jenna Ellis. Jenna Ellis. We'll talk about her in a second, but let's say you plead guilty to a very serious criminal charge and there's no jobs for you. So you have to go seeking for a job because you no longer are admonished by the board because of your license. And you now have to go out pounding the pavement. What do? You go somewhere where they have resumes and you tune up your resume and they charge you a fee. Guess what they do? They download the app, they get 3 free signatures a month, and you're able to do everything remotely because when you go outside, you can't show your face. eSign.com is a very effective way to remotely do business for Jenna Ellis and anybody else similarly situated. But it's also good for any kind of business, honestly. If you have an agreement that you need to get signed as soon as possible, it's so much easier to have it e-signed. I use it all the time for all kinds of documents, medical releases, powers of attorney, retainer agreements. Any kind of document you need signed, you go to eSign, have it done quickly. It's a very easy and quick remote way to do business because if it's not eSign, no one signs. Let's revisit some history. Let's look at this press conference of 3 people that are in this indictment, 2 of which have now pled. This almost seems like a Saturday Night Live skit when you really think about it. We've got Giuliani, we've got Sidney Powell, and just to her left on the right side is Jenna Ellis. And then Victoria Tensing is on the other side, and Joe, I don't remember Joe's last name, who cares? They're irrelevant. But all 3 of these people are in the indictment. One of the things that's interesting about this is Trump sent out a Truth Social. I hope you guys are all members of Truth Social. But he sent out I don't know what they call them, but a post about Sidney Powell. That's
sorry. They call them truths.
We're not going to call them truths. I guess Michael just told me that they call them truths. We're not going to call them truths. We'll call them posts. He put out a post that I don't even know who Sidney Powell is. She was never part of our legal team, but he tweeted out before that she was, and there she is right behind Giuliani, along with Miss Ellis.
So, excuse me, we're not at the questions at this point. My name is Jenna Ellis, and I'm the senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign, and I'd like to just explain.
You know what she said? Senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign. You watch. After today, Trump's going to put out one of his untruths, and he's going to say, oh, I don't even know who Jenna Ellis is. She wasn't part of my team.
Now, where we've been and where we're at and what you can expect from this process. So what you have heard, I'm sure, in the fake newspapers tomorrow will be...
In the fake newspapers. Okay, let's talk about the fake news. They're creating fake news.
One of 2 things. Either there was not sufficient evidence that we've presented, or we spoke too long. Okay, so what you've heard now is basically an opening statement. This is what you can expect to see when we get to court to actually have a full trial on the merits.
They never got there. I think they had over 60 cases that they filed. Not a single one prevailed.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to address the court. As an attorney who is also a Christian, I take my responsibilities as...
Who cares if you're Christian? I don't give a shit that you're Christian.
...as a lawyer very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way. I endeavored to represent my client to the best of my ability. I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information, especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise...
Here's the thing. I say that a lot, but failure to look into the facts is not a defense. Because when you sign on the dotted line a pleading, you own it. You file a lawsuit, you own it. If you're on a team and team is fucking you over with bad facts, you own that.
Challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges.
Come on, bullshit. You just are crying in your beer because you got caught. They knew what they were doing, and they trusted Donald Trump.
I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse.
I bet you do.
For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia.
Her plea deal matches pretty much Kenneth Chesebro, or Chesebro. So let's talk about Kenneth Chesebro. What did Kenneth Chesebro do? He was behind... Now, if you remember, there was a scheme to install fake electors. And he authored a memo describing how to get this accomplished. And then they filed some false documents. And that's basically what he pled to.
Yes.
Do you understand that you were originally charged in count 1 with RICO, count 9, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, count 11, conspiracy to commit forgery, count 13, conspiracy to commit false filings and writings, count 15, conspiracy to commit filing false documents, count 17, conspiracy to commit forgery, count 19, conspiracy to commit false statements and writings?
Yes.
Do you understand that the state that this is a negotiated plea, and as part of that agreement, the state has agreed to null pros counts 1, 9, 11, 13, 17, and 19, and will be moving.
So the counts that she just listed, non-pros, that means non-prosecution. That means that they agreed to not prosecute him for those.
Forward on count 15 only.
Yes.
So we're not gonna nearly on the other ones, but we're just gonna go forward on count 15.
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for count 15, which is conspiracy to commit filing false documents?
Yes.
And do you understand that that carries a minimum of 1 year to a maximum of 5 years to serve?
What they're doing here is making sure that he's entering his plea freely, knowingly, and voluntarily. So that's one of the things that you do is you go through all your rights and go through the charges to make sure he knows exactly what he's getting himself into.
Mr. Chesebro, have you been arrested on these charges that lies in indictment 23 SC 188947?
Yes.
The state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you or your attorney know of any outstanding warrants that involve these charges?
No.
Do you understand that this is a negotiated plea, which means your attorneys and the state have reached a negotiated recommendation to make to the court?
So she's going to tell you what the terms of the agreement are. But here's the thing. If, just like in Sidney Powell, if he doesn't follow through on his agreement, then everything else, the non-pros, all the other things, everything can come alive again.
I do.
Do you understand that the court is not bound by that recommendation and could sentence you to the maximum penalty for the charges?
I do.
Do you understand that the recommendation in this particular case...
So what she's saying is that this is agreement between us. The judge is not party to this agreement. The judge doesn't sign this agreement. It's between us, and we're going to make a recommendation. The judge is free to do whatever he wants. And guess what? If the judge decides, I'm not going along with this, I'm doing something different, well, then you don't have the right to withdraw your plea then.
Case as to count 15, conspiracy to commit filing false documents is 5 years to be served on probation.
And remember, these are false documents filed in the trying to overthrow the 2020 election.
A $5,000 fine, and that I believe you're asking the court to treat you as a first offender. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, $5,000 restitution. You understand that?
Yes.
And do you understand also special conditions of the probation is that you complete 100 hours of community service
Yes.
and that you write an apology letter to the citizens of the state of Georgia?
Which I have, yes.
Yes, and that you truthfully testify at all hearings and trials involving co-defendants in this matter, that you have no communication with co-defendants, witnesses, or the media until all cases have been resolved against all co-defendants.
Yes.
And
So it is not always an express term of a plea agreement and when you have multiple co-defendants to agree to testify against other co-defendants. And the only reason that they're doing this here is because, number one, he's already given a video proffer, just like Sidney Powell did, and they want his testimony to show, that they conspired, they filed false documents, and that's all going to come back to who? Who is this for the benefit of? DJT. She got 5 years probation, $5,000 fine, probably, and a non-pros on all the other stuff. So that's the fourth plea in this case. So you had 19 people going to trial. Now it's 15. You watch. It's going to whittle down, whittle down, whittle down, whittle down, whittle down. And it's going to be only Trump left standing. And every one of them, Powell, Chesebro, and Ellis, as part of their plea agreements, they all have to provide truthful testimony in the co-defendants' cases. Did you file false documents? They're already on record. And here's the other thing. They've already provided video proffers. A proffer is where you tell the government everything, basically. She is locked in. They wouldn't bring her into court. I mean, you hear this little bullshit statement that she's saying, I relied on others, I didn't do my due diligence, and had I known what I'd known and now what I knew then, I would have... That just does not sound like she's really accepting responsibility. It sounds like she's saying it's everybody else's fault. But now you got 4 witnesses. I can't remember the other guy's name, but 3 of the witnesses are very crucial advisors to Donald Trump. You heard her say she was a senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign. My guess is that Giuliani will be the next one. Because he's got no money, he's got in debt to his lawyers up the ass, and I don't like to see anybody suffer like this. Honestly, they're not going to jail, and they're getting non-prosecution agreements on these things in exchange for their testimony, and they can't lie. If it turns out they're lying, or if they don't cooperate, their deal gets yanked and they can't pull their plea. We'll continue to follow, Powell, Chesebro, and Ellis now. We'll also follow DJT because he is going to be up a creek without a paddle. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your personal board-certified criminal defense lawyers. Criminal defense lawyer. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Do they call it Twitter anymore, or does they call it X? Call it on whatever. Follow us on the X thing, whatever. And so make sure you sign up for Patreon. We'll see you next here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?